Hello, and welcome to my breathwork debrief. This is my session number 39 of self breathes as well as group breathes for my RBM practitioner training. So I always like to start with my past intention. So my past intention was I intend to create momentum and tangible action within the new build and break ground with ease and freedom. And interestingly, my week was so busy and so full, and it went so fast that it kind of again didn't really feel like much happened. However, there was momentum with the building of my new workspace. We found out I'd sent it, I'd sent some things I needed to send and um, realized 2 weeks after that the person who I sent it to was on holidays. And so we were kind of like, so what's happening? Getting no response. And it was obviously because that person was on holidays. We indirectly found out because there was no bounce back email saying I'm on holidays. We indirectly found out through someone else that person was on holidays and sent it to someone else who then got the ball rolling. Um, and we got another email saying the permit should be ready to go. We should hear something this week. So there was some physical momentum happening with the build. I also, like I said, I also felt like it was a week when nothing happened, but lots of things happened. It got lots of things in motion. And it wasn't until I went back and thought about it that I was like, oh, and I did this and I did that. And I, got the ball rolling on a lot of things that I've been meaning to do. So yeah, there was momentum in life, not just with the build. Um, yeah, lots of again just trusting the process and I had a bit of an empty week and then people just dropped in, made appointments. So just trusting the process, surrendering, trusting. Um, yeah, just feeling more confident, putting myself out there and there's like so much sport happening and connecting with new groups of people and therefore being able to share who I am, what I do, blah, 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 blah. So that network and that networking connection, has the potential to grow as well. I've also um, joined up as a sponsor with one of the sporting groups. So again, another opportunity, real opportunity to put myself out there. This is what I do. This is who I am. Blah, blah, blah. Um, so yeah, so there were a few things that I started that I'd been meaning to do for a long time. Um, and yeah, my last two debriefs I recorded back to back because um, life was just too busy. And so my intention from this week actually came from a bit of a realization that happened from recording those just before my session. And there were a few breathes back. Something happened in one of my sessions that I didn't really understand then, but I understand now. And um, someone was dialoguing in the breathe, and there were some words that really stood out to me. And I might have mentioned this in the last breathe. Um, But yeah, there were some words that really stood out to me, and it's really driven my intention for this brief. And those words were father and anger, forgiveness, but also not wanting to let him get away with it. And it really wasn't until like I came into this session just not really having any idea of what I wanted my intention to be. And it wasn't until we started doing the intention setting that it really kind of hit me. Um, and my intention was around this. It was around um, I thought potentially the father wound. I thought um, this just this balance of masculine and feminine, um, this toxic masculinity that is our society. Um, and just talking about this in my intention setting, like it was, I just like I was full of sadness and I was full of grief and I started to cry because it was such an emotional process. And what I realized too, that it is all of those things, but it is so much more than all of those things. It's just about what it means to be a woman in general and um, how being a woman can be seen as a curse by so many people. And being a woman is really an honor. When you actually see it for what it is, being a woman is really an honor. Being a woman is so special. Being a woman is a place of power. Um, and the reason that, the feminine was suppressed and belittled and shunned and shamed is because being a woman is so incredibly powerful. Um, and I guess that intimidated a lot of men. Um, but, you know, there's there's so much more than that. Just being a woman in society, you are made to feel small. You can never be right. Society, media, people have been taught, people have been conditioned to believe that there's something wrong with us. Like a woman, a woman gets to an age where, she just becomes hysterical because she's not being listened to, she's not being heard, she's not being seen. And then you're made out to be this crazy woman because look at how you're behaving. Well, you're behaving like that because you're screaming for help and no one's listening to you. You know, women in society get ignored. Like it's so sad for women to not even understand what is going on in their bodies, to not even, you know, my mum went through this experience where she raised us. So she was out of work for such a long time. And all she was valued for was getting jobs cleaning because she was out of work raising children. All she could do was get cleaning jobs. Like that's all she was seen to be of value. She tried with reception jobs, she tried with other jobs, and it never stuck. She went through interview after interview after interview after interview, and because she was female and of age, no one was interested in her. Like it's sometimes it's bullshit, the way society treats women. And you can't even say it's just men because women treat women like this too. Um, and if you've ever if you've ever had a conversation with me, I am such a big advocate for teaching boys how to be men and teaching them how to treat women. And this is really all of the things that encapsulated this intention and this breathe to re-empower women. Like I don't know the stats, but domestic violence is huge. And so many people think that domestic violence is just physical. No. Domestic violence is um, the way you get spoken to, the way you are treated, so verbal and emotional abuse, that's violent. Neglect is violent. Getting a silent treatment from someone in your life, that's domestic abuse, that's violence. Um, it's not just about the physical, financial abuse is violence. I see it as such a bizarre thing. So many couples who have kids, and it's like that's his money and that's my money. And it's like, that doesn't make sense. You have a family together that should be collectively your money together, not mine and his. Like, that's the most bizarre thing. Women, because of what we do in bringing up children, we are not at the capacity to make as much money as men. And in actual fact, I know in my circumstance, my partner made the money that he made because of me, because I stayed home, because I did everything. Wasn't in spite of me, it was because of me. So why would he be more entitled to that money than me? Because if it wasn't for me, he wouldn't have been able to earn it. If he had to be with his kids more, he wouldn't have been able to earn it. I sacrificed for our family. That money is also mine. If you want to argue otherwise, well, there's the cost of cooking, there's the cost of cleaning, there's the cost of childcare, there's the cost of, um, you know, just doing all the menial tasks. Sex, cost of sex, like all of these added up. So if you're with someone who withholds from you, whether it be financially, emotionally, mentally, if you're with someone who's withholding, that is also domestic violence. If you're with someone who's constantly putting you down, making you feel small, belittling you, criticizing how you look, that is also domestic violence. It doesn't have to just be physical. And so I really feel how incredibly strong this message is. As a little girl witnessing my mum and dad's relationship, it used to make me feel so sad listening to the way they argued, listening to the way my dad spoke to my mum, and my mum being surrounded by her children, my brothers, who also treat her like that. And I said to my mum, it's very likely that my brothers also treat their wives like that too. And I feel such a duty to one, as a mother of boys, like I said before, teach boys how to be men, teach boys what is and is not an acceptable way to treat a woman. And two, share the message with all of the women who have settled and accepted less than they really deserve. Nobody deserves to be treated like that. Nobody deserves to be put down, neglected, or abused. And it makes me so angry, this whole idea of boys will be boys. I like you, so I'm going to be mean to you and I'm going to throw things at you and I'm going to be awful to you because I like you. You know, that speaks to a boy who doesn't like to be rejected, not a boy who actually likes this person, you know? Actually, something happened the other day, unrelated to my breathwork session, but still very related to the topic. My partner was walking home from the RSL, 7:30 at night, and it's daylight savings here, so it's still daylight. And he walked past a woman and her daughter, and then another older woman further up the road. And both times as he approached these women, they hid behind a tree to let him walk past. And when he came home, he was like, "What the hell is wrong?" You know, I did everything I could to make myself look friendly and approachable. He's like, I took my sunnies off, I said hello, I moved over to give them space, and they were still scared of me. I said, welcome to what it is to be a woman. Welcome to not being able to walk down the street by yourself without fearing something's going to happen to you with some man walking near you. He's like, I just don't get it. Is society really that messed up that these women were scared of me? Like I'm not dressed like a homeless person. I'm not drunk. I'm not on drugs. And they were like hiding behind trees to get away from me. Welcome to what it is to be a woman. You know, I said to him when I would go to a bar, it's like a 5-minute walk from here. When I left, I wasn't walking home, I was running home, and I had my phone unlocked in my hand, ready to make a phone call at any point in time. And I said, I'm not someone who, is going to go down without a fight. And that's what it was like for me to be a woman alone on the street where anything can happen. And it's just bullshit that we have a society where women have to be scared to be out by themselves. I guarantee you that if I also went to the RSL and was walking home, it would have been a very different situation. He wouldn't have been a threat. And it's such an experience. And I'm sure you all have. I'm sure you all have your own stories. But this intention is really about empowering women. I found it really hard to put that intention into words because it was so much and everything all in one. Um, but my intention on this brief is I intend to anchor in worthiness and value of the feminine within myself and collective consciousness to create balance of the masculine and feminine, to liberate the feminine with my voice, with my truth. Because this is about women all over the world, not just about me and my experience. This is about all of us. This is about women feeling safe to go out, to walk home at night without being scared or intimidated that someone is going to approach you, with being able to go to a bar and not having to put your hand over your drink because someone might spike it, to go out with your friends and not be approached by some sleaze bag who, when you say no thanks, actually goes, oh, okay, no worries. She said no. I'll leave her alone. This is about women raising up other women and being each other's cheerleaders instead of shaming and judging each of us, how we look, how we dress. This really needs to change moving forward. And, this is the beginning. This is the beginning. And it's such a powerful message. And so, whether you're a man or a woman listening to this, ask the women in your lives what it's like to be a woman. And if you're a woman, know that it doesn't have to be like that. And that the way to change this is to change this within ourselves. For women to feel worthy as you are. For women to be valued for what we do. To not feel like being female is a curse. To embracing your womanhood and celebrating your womanhood and all that encompasses. Because women are such powerful creators. We really are. Anyway, so my breathe. I had this stone with me in my breathe. This is serpentine. Serpentine is big for transformation. Um, but for me, it was a real support. My breath work for this breathe was not what I expected. I got really emotional in my debrief, of my intention setting, I should say. I got really emotional. I had so much sadness and so much grief in my chest, and it felt heavy. I just wanted to cry. My my ears were hot. My head was hot. Holding all of this for the collective consciousness of women and people, of human beings. I had tingles on the top of my head. I was actually starting to feel really lightheaded, and I got really sweaty in the intention setting. And so I was kind of anticipating the breathe was going to go on that path. But the breathe was so different. It was like an initiation. It was like a ceremony. It was so gentle and so supportive and so strengthening for me. Um, so I took, as I said, my serpentine down to my breathe with me, and I held it in my right hand really, grasping, holding it tight in my right hand. And it felt so powerful in my hand, like it was giving me strength and support and power. And what was going through my mind is just how much of an honor it is to be able to have this intention and represent women in this way. And it felt like such a blessing. It felt like, yeah, such a blessing and such an honor. I felt so strength. I had so much strength and power, and it felt liberating. It felt like freedom to women and love. So, so, so much love. I I started having some um physical um experiences in my breathe. My ribs on my right hand side were really sharply contracting. And again, I just breathe with conscious breath, circular breath through these with my hand grasping my stone. Um, there was a lot happening up here in my crown and in my third eye, and I ended up putting the stone on my third eye. And it really helped me stay grounded through the breathe, through the process. Um, because I really wanted to be in my body with this experience. Um, I was listening to someone else in the group dialoguing, and her husband was on call, so she was breathing with her daughter, and it was just so beautiful to listen to her daughter supporting her. Like she's 4 years old, and she started to cry and she said, Mummy, can I give you a cuddle? And just breathing and listening to that. I had so many tears, but they were not tears of sadness or sorrow or grief. They were tears of love. Listening to her support her mum in that way. And I remember thinking of, like for her, 4 years old, what life is going to be like for her, or what life can be like for her with the support of other women around her, teaching her and celebrating her for being woman, and just this womanly connection from grandparent, grandmother to mother to granddaughter, all the wisdom that can be passed down, and just being in this, it just felt so special to listen to that, to witness that, and to have those thoughts in my mind. And um, yeah, it was so, so beautiful. Just thinking of what it's going to be like for these future generations to not know and to not experience society now, and what it is to be woman, and where women can be celebrated for being women, you know, like the crone archetype passing down wisdom and celebration and ceremony to the generations below. And it was then that I felt like my own connection to this innate wisdom. And um I felt my jaw. just create so much space and become relaxed. And um, at the same time, like my pelvic bowl also just just relaxed. You know, this connection with speaking truth and the pelvis and the connection between the throat and the pelvis. Um, and for women, you know, our uterus, this is our place of creation. This is where we create ideas and where we birth these ideas and bring them into reality. So just kind of being in my own innate wisdom and having this connection between voice, speaking truth, communication, and my own ability to birth and create um, ideas and bring them to life. I ended up moving the stone from my third eye down to my cesarean scar. And as soon as I did that, I've really felt like so much autonomy come back to me. There was this piece of me that was missing that came back to me. I don't know what it was, but maybe it was this innate wisdom. I felt, and I have shared this before, I felt like I lost my autonomy in my pregnancies and births, not being able to move, being hooked up to machines and not being able to move in the way I wanted to move. Ended up having my twins, having one vaginal birth and one cesarean, not because there was anything wrong, but because of the process that I had to go through, that I was hooked up to machines. I had to make an agreement to have an epidural, so I couldn't even be on my feet if I wanted to be at that point in time. Being hooked up to machines left and right, people everywhere in the room. And I ended up having a cesarean for my second twin because when he did drop, um, he dropped breech and they wouldn't let me birth him like that, even though I know that I could have without any hesitation. But because I wasn't able to get up and move, I truly believe that I could have repositioned him being able to get up and move. So I really felt so much autonomy come back to me in that moment. And yeah, just like a piece of me returning and anchoring back into me. And I moved, I moved the stone from there up onto my belly button, up onto my navel. And this was a really interesting moment of my breathe. I felt connected through my umbilical cord to the generations of women before me, to my ancestors, to the ancestors of women. I just felt this incredible connection, like I was plugged in, like I was plugged into. And this is where it really felt like an initiation, like a ceremony, but more specifically, an initiation into something. And it felt so powerful. But in that moment too, I also, like my breath just became so deep and so expansive and so easeful. It was like taking breaths for the first time. And it was like a rebirthing experience in that moment. Re, taking those first breaths and being initiated into this lineage of woman and taking these breaths with such ease and freedom. I don't think I've ever breathed so deeply and fully and comfortably like that before. And there was no force whatsoever. It was just such a full breath. From there, I moved the stone up to my heart. It was important for me as well throughout this process that the stone had contact, skin on skin. And so I moved it up to my heart. And again, it was just this connecting with my heart, just so much love, so much love in this space. And I felt more tears of love. Um, but I had these tingles running down both of my arms. And, like I believe our arms, our hands are just a connection to our heart. And yeah, just so much just filling with love, filling with strength, filling with power, filling with wisdom, and feeling so free. Then I moved the stone up to my throat. It was interesting here, because as much as it was on my throat, communication, speaking my truth, speaking in a way to liberate women and have women know that there is more, there is better. But I also I also felt so much engagement in my thymus here. Um, and I think that's higher heart. I think that's collective consciousness. Um, but I really felt connected with my thymus at that point. Um, but yeah, just really leaning into being able to use my voice, really being able to lean into speaking for women and and celebrating women. Excuse me, I've got hiccups. And, being a leader, creating an initiative to celebrate women because so many people think that being a woman is just such a curse. But the whole experience was so powerful and strengthening and liberating. It was so full of love and so full of wisdom. And it was like, as I said, it was like I was joining a tribe of women before me. That culture of community, of the grandmothers, the mothers, the granddaughters. And it is this supportive, creative, nurturing community where wisdom is passed down, where we go back to celebrating what it is to be woman, to menstruate, and to see menstruation as a beautiful rite of passage instead of, the curse that so many people think it is. And might I say, this is not in my brief, but if you have negative symptoms of menstruation, That is a hormone imbalance. What you need to do is rebalance the hormones, not take the pill, not insert the rod in your arm, but you balance your hormones. And one of the biggest things that creates this hormone imbalance is women trying to fit in to the world of a man because women have a very different cycle. We have a cycle that runs with the moon. We need to learn to understand what we can do at what stages of our cycle and work with our bodies instead of trying to work against our bodies. And doing life in this way is going to help balance your hormones. Trying to keep up and do too much, that is going to create imbalance in your hormones. But that's a conversation for another day. Um, but yeah, my breathe was just such a powerful, powerful, powerful celebration of womanhood and such a message to get this message out to women and speak it to share with women that we are here to celebrate each other, not to compete against each other, not to put each other down, but to rise each other up, to be each other's cheerleaders, to celebrate and share the wisdom. Hang on. But anyway, that's my breathe for this.